So the purpose of my work in this symposium and in the world of living theory is to make the connection between the individual journey of one's own living theory and then building the cultures of inquiry within the spheres of influence that we each have around us. So to start, I'd like to explain a little bit about my own personal work with living theory and then take it into how this helps to support the work in building cultures of inquiry within my own sphere. So my own living theory is constructed on a framework that supports care and connection in learning, primarily through the use of vulnerability and dialogue in teaching. It is the primary contributor to my own theoretical framework is the work of Nell Noddings in her work in the sphere of caring. And her work in caring lays the foundation for my core values of connection with others. Specifically, as a how that shows up in my practice is some of her theories of engrossment and being connected through others through being engrossed in their conversation and asking questions and being authentically present when you are in conversations with others. So what's important for me to understand is that the very notion of theory being living contains action and movement, and the methods that were used to transmit our values are as equal in importance to naming the values themselves. And that's been really important for me in my own understanding, is not just understanding what the values are, but how they show up or how they don't show up in the practice. And so in my own work, I use an exploration of a variety of data sources to figure out how they were showing up and not showing up in practice. And that includes looking through years of student feedback comments and analyzing them qualitatively to look for the types of words and the types of phrases my students were used to describe the type of professor I was, and also looking through video data and looking for evidence of how I was conversing with students and peers to see how my values were showing up there. What was really interesting is that there were particular blockage points in the transmission of my own values. Primarily because a lot of the work I do, and especially today, is working online. And so I found particular challenges in the use of the online modality to make meaningful connections with others. So that was really insightful as I started to build on my own practice work on my own living theory. But the part two of this work is traversing from your own individual living theory to the work of creating the cultures of inquiry, which I primarily explored with Jackie DeLong on this symposium as well. And that requires, I believe, a really thorough understanding of your own practice, acknowledging that that's fluid and growing as well, but knowing your own practice so that you can be vulnerable with others as you try to make connections with them. Because in my belief, it's only through understanding yourself and your own values and your own practice that you can begin to see how you can challenge the systems and the structures that are currently in place that are serving to deny those values of human flourishing. And the work with others, that's a primary purpose of the work with others in cultures of inquiry. So in Jackie and I's work together, we talked about how cultures of inquiry can exist in multiple fashions, both micro, two people involved in a conversation, macro, people involved in a class or a course, and then both being sustained and spontaneous. A spontaneous being a conference session in which people might attend for 90 minutes like today and walk away with an impact of change. Or sustained, in which they take a course with somebody or exist in a mentorship relationship that happens over time where there is sustained influence. But again, as facilitators for these cultures of inquiry, Jackie and I propose that the how of creating that inquiry should be examined and explored just as we do with our individual living theories as well. So you will see in each of our papers, the use of video evidence is of primary importance so that we can see the values of vulnerability, authentic connection, and mindful questioning, and loving educational conversations as they play out in all of our various cultures of inquiry. Particularly, this form of data allows us to see the contradictions and what is actually occurring in the video clips as well. And it's an essential part of the living theory methodology and provides significant validity to our claims within this space.
Okay, 5 minutes, go on.
Oh my gosh, already? Okay. Well, I'll stop there and then I'll trim that part because the last part talks about the questions that the AERA conference asks us about. So that's good to know. Thanks, Jack, for giving me the 5-minute warning.
Okay.
So I'll trim the intro part so I can give at least a minute or so to the questions.
Yeah, great.
Good practice. Thank you.
Abati,